Okay, so this video may not be for everyone. If you are playing for 2023, if you're playing for 2024, and you're just loading up on future draft picks, have no intention on contending, I'm sorry, maybe it will be entertaining for you, but you should not be going out there and trading for these running backs. I want people that are planning on going out there and fielding a competitive roster in 2022 to consider these three players. Now, I am not going to be talking about the truly elite level contending running backs. Like if we head over to Keep Trade Cut, you're going to see that you have players like Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara as very expensive options. I mean, Joe Mixon is currently sitting as about the running back 7, McCaffrey running back 6, Dalvin running back 9, Eckler running back 8. Of course, those players are better than the options we're going to be talking about now. But if we're a contending roster, if we are going to be paying up for a player like Christian McCaffrey, we covered a couple days ago, someone trading away McCaffrey for 3 future firsts. Hell, if you're going to be trading away that kind of capital for a running back, just go pay a little bit more and get Najee Harris. Just go pay a little bit more and get Jonathan Taylor. So instead, we're going to be primarily focusing on some contending running backs that I think you can actually get at a decent value. But of course, before we get into it, please go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. And if you want to go get in a draft with me today, make sure you go sign up to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. When you sign up to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. You can get into drafts with us in the live stream, get into drafts in the public lobby, get into drafts with your friends. Most importantly, just have some goddamn fun. You can find the link down there in the description of the video or in the comment section. Use promo code FLOCK, and that should be it. Let's go through and let's dive into our first running back here. Someone that has consistently lost value over the past 2 seasons, according to Keep Trade Cut, it's going to be Aaron Jones. So speaking of Underdog Fantasy, obviously those are just 2022 leagues. There, Aaron Jones being drafted as the running back 11, but of course, you should not be drafting Aaron Jones as high in Dynasty as you are in redraft because you do have long-term question marks around his job security in Green Bay. And we just know that once running backs begin to get to age 28, 29, we need to be worried about these players earlier than what we're actually worried about with receiver. Now, if we're looking at Aaron Jones, this is a running back that signed that extension last offseason, but after this year, honestly, he is cuttable by the Green Bay Packers. So if you are worried about Aaron Jones coming out and possibly disappointing, and you're saying, okay, well, hell, they're already paying Aaron Rodgers so much money. Obviously, this is a team that wants to also allocate those resources to the defensive side of the ball. Full transparency, they can save about $10.5 million if they want to move on from Aaron Jones before his age 29 season next year. But if we're talking about this season right now, I think Aaron Jones is currently one of the best values, not only in Dynasty, but also in redraft. We talked about this on the main channel. Now, I know, of course, there's a massive elephant in the room, and that elephant has thunderous thighs. That elephant is a grown-ass man in A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon is going to have a role in this offense. A.J. Dillon is probably, I want to say definitely, the best running back that Aaron Jones has ever played with in Green Bay, and he will be taking a decent amount of carries. Now, let's ask ourselves, okay, how many carries can A.J. Dillon see this upcoming season? Are you going to get 150, 160, 170, 180, 190? Are you going to get 200 carries from A.J. Dillon? And I honestly don't care. I don't care if A.J. Dillon were to come out here and have 200 carries in this offense, because we talked about this with DeAndre Swift last year, saying, hell, DeAndre Swift was a massive value, and that's because he is the new generation's Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara, these are the perfect examples. You don't need every single touch in your backfield. What do you need? You need the targets out of the backfield, and you need the usage in the red zone. And now if we head over and we look at what has happened in Green Bay since Aaron Jones got there as a rookie. So 2017, I honestly don't really want to look at his rookie season. He wasn't productive, but whenever he broke out in 2018, he was the running back 17 on a points per game basis. You know how many carries running backs not named Aaron Jones had in this offense? 200. If we go to 2019, he was the running back 3 on a points per game basis. There were 175 carries in that offense, not by Aaron Jones. In 2020, Aaron Jones was a top 5 running back. Aaron Jones was the running back 5 in fantasy football, and there were 242 carries in this offense. In 2021, the running backs in that backfield, not named Aaron Jones, had 275 carries. Yet Aaron Jones still finished as the running back 13. I honestly think that's probably a little low for what we are going to have this upcoming season. Because let's say, okay, A.J. Dillon comes out. He gets to 200 carries. A.J. Dillon has that massive role. We saw this past season, for whatever reason, they are way more comfortable with Aaron Jones there once they get to the red zone than they are with Dillon. I think it's because you see that teams, especially over the past 3 seasons, are more and more willing to go through and call 4 passing plays in a row once they get inside the 5-yard line. I'm not smart enough to be an NFL head coach, but it's a trend that we've been seeing. You want that passing down running back in there once you get to the goal line. It's not 1980 anymore. So you have Aaron Jones still getting the touchdowns despite A.J. Dillon being the bigger running back, and Aaron Jones for those PPR formats is still getting targeted out of the backfield. Now what I want to do is I want to go through and I want to look at what is changing in this Green Bay Packers offense. What's changing is you have one of the best players in the NFL. You have possibly the best wide receiver in the NFL leaving. And what was Devonte Adams known for? Devonte Adams was known, of course, for being a black hole in this offense where he went out there and he got absolutely everything. He had a 32% team target share this past season. But let's move a little bit further than that. What else was Devonte Adams known for? Devonte Adams was known for being the best red zone receiving option in the entire NFL. Please go to the comment section. Let me know if you disagree with this, but I want to confidently say that Devonte Adams, by far and away, the best red zone threat in the NFL at the wide receiver position. And now that he is leaving Green Bay, the touchdown upside, the receiving game usage for Aaron Jones, it's going to go up. Now, I know, of course, people are probably going to be hesitant, tell me, okay, well, Mason Devonte Adams is a receiver, Aaron Jones is a running back. Are we sure with this? So what can we do? We can go back, just scale all the way to 2019 over the past 3 seasons, and we can look at every week that Devonte Adams missed and what did Aaron Jones do? So what I want to be tracking is I want to be tracking the receptions for Aaron Jones when Devonte Adams does not play, and also the touchdowns, because keep in mind, Devonte Adams is that black hole once they get to the red zone. So no Devonte Adams, you are going to have Aaron Jones with the bump up. So let's start it off in 2021. There was only 1 week. You only had Aaron Jones for 1 week, no Devonte Adams, but you did have 7 receptions, you had 110 total yards, and you had a touchdown. Okay, I'm taking that every day of the week. And if we go to 2020, Devonte Adams actually left early week 2 with the ankle injury. And after leaving early, Aaron Jones went, you know what? We're good. Hey, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Rodgers. Just give me the ball. And what ended up happening is Aaron Jones posted 4 receptions, 236 total yards, and 3 touchdowns. Week 3, you have another touchdown, 86 total yards and 2 receptions. Week 4, 5 receptions, another touchdown, 111 total yards. So you're starting to see a touchdown scoring machine with no Devonte Adams in this offense. Now we go to 2019. You had a 4-week stretch where you had Aaron Jones as that starting running back. And here, week 5, no Devonte Adams, 7 receptions. You get that bump up in the receiving game, 182 total yards, 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns. Week 6, a little bit of a down week, 60 total yards, 4 receptions, but you still love to see the usage in the receiving game. Week 7, 83 total yards, 4 receptions, and the receiving touchdown to go along with it. Maybe rushing touchdown, total touchdown, whatever the hell it is. And in week 8, last week before you get Devonte Adams coming back in, 7 receptions, 226 total yards, and 2 touchdowns. The usage in the red zone, the usage in the receiving game is absurd with Aaron Jones and no Devonte Adams, because we know Green Bay is going to be a good offense. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL. This offense still has a high floor and a high ceiling. And if we look at this 8-game stretch and we pull the averages that Aaron Jones had with no Devonte Adams, he averaged 5 receptions a game. He averaged 136, almost 137 total yards per game. He averaged 1.6 touchdowns per game. That's good for 28 points a game. You know how many running backs have come close to 28 points per game since really I can recall in 2014? Uno. And that was Christian McCaffrey in 2019, someone that legitimately broke fantasy football. Now, of course, you would have to be a crazy person. I would need to call your doctor, get you on meds if you came out and said Aaron Jones was a lock to score 28 points per game this upcoming season because you have no Devonte Adams. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is, hell, if Aaron Jones can go out there, and let's just run some simple math. Let's say Aaron Jones doesn't score 28.43 points per game. Let's say instead he regresses by 20%. He only gets 80% of that level of production. Hell, that is good for 22.74 fantasy points per game. Let me pull up what we had last season just to kind of give some context to what 22.7 points per game is. Keep in mind, we took away 20% of the production for Aaron Jones. If you want to take away 25% of the production, you do you. It doesn't really matter. But the only running back to average more fantasy points per game last year was Derrick Henry at 24.2. 80% of the Aaron Jones production with no Devonte Adams has Aaron Jones scoring more points than Jonathan Taylor had last year. So, hell, let's not say that because that's still a little extreme. Let's take that 28.43 points, which is an 8-game sample. It's not like we're looking at 3 games here. That's half a season. And let's say he gets 70% of it. 70%. That's good for 19.9 points per game. The only running backs that outscored him last year, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler. If he gets 70% of that, I love me some Aaron Jones. I think that his value, especially on those underdog redraft leagues, is going to continue to rise. In Dynasty, I think he's the perfect example. Don't go trade for Kamara. Don't go trade for Dalvin Cook. Get Aaron Jones at a massive discount because A.J. Dillon will have a large role. But when you have Aaron Rodgers in this offense, there's more than enough production to go around. Now let's go over to our next running back in a similar tier, going back to back with Aaron Jones in those underdog redraft leagues, but he's valued lower according to Keep Trade Cut. This is Leonard Fournette. If you're looking at Keep Trade Cut right now, Leonard Fournette is currently being valued as the running back 25. Now, I think it's funny to see him behind someone like Ezekiel Elliott, behind someone like Elijah Mitchell, because while yes, Elijah Mitchell is only 24 years old, are we sure that Elijah Mitchell has more job security than Leonard Fournette over the next 2 to 3 seasons? I don't think so. I honestly think if we're looking at their long-term outlook, if I'm having to bet on Leonard Fournette or Elijah Mitchell for 2023, I'm betting on Leonard Fournette. I don't care if Tom Brady is there or not. So I'm looking at that. I'm also looking at the fact that, Ezekiel Elliott is going rounds behind Leonard Fournette in those underdog redraft best ball formats. This dynasty value is ridiculous. So he signs the contract this offseason. If you're looking at the incentive that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would have to be moving on from Leonard Fournette, really, if they were to cut him in 2023, they'd only be saving about $3 million. That's not going to make sense. Maybe they want to move on from him in 2024 where they can save $7 million, but we can assume that Leonard Fournette has the starting job over the next 2 seasons. And if you're looking at Leonard Fournette, this is a running back that last season averaged almost 13 carries a game. Most importantly, he averaged 6 targets a game. That is where his value is going to come from, 90 total yards a game. And of course, we're going to be expecting that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense is slightly worse than where they were last year. Now, I'm living in Tampa right now, so trust me, I'm hoping it doesn't happen. But we can assume that Tom Brady, I don't even know how old Tom Brady is at this point. Let's God, let's look this up. Tom Brady, I'm assuming he's age 45 seasons. Not going to live up to where he's been over the past 2 years, but who the hell knows? So if we expect this offense to get slightly worse, your initial reaction would be, okay, well, maybe the touchdown rate comes down for Leonard Fournette. Honestly, even though this offense was fantastic last year, and you're looking at Leonard Fournette as a top 5 running back on a points per game basis, it was not based off the touchdown rate. It was not based off the touchdown. So the offense can scale back because Fournette only had 10 total touchdowns through 14 games, and a player getting this kind of volume, that's sustainable. Now, of course, there's another elephant in the room. This elephant's a little bit smaller, but this elephant is much better at pass catching than what you had with A.J. Dillon. It's going to be Rashad White. So Rashad White getting drafted in the 3rd round. I think Rashad White was the best passing down running back in this draft class, and him going in the 3rd round does mean he should have a role right away. Like if we're talking about backfields where you can roster multiple options here, I think Rashad White in Tampa is another running back too that I would be intrigued in getting. Now, very similar to what we were talking about with the Green Bay Packers, if we head over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're bringing in Rashad White to replace both Ronald Jones and Giovanni Bernard. If we're looking at running backs and not named Leonard Fournette this past season, they had 157 carries and 54 targets for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So if Rashad White were to come in and Rashad White gets 100 carries and 50 targets, that's right in line with what you'd almost expect from a rookie profile. And on top of this, he's not eating in to Leonard Fournette, who is a top 5 running back on a per game basis last season. So if we were combining a couple of things here, the job security that he has, it's equal to what you have with Ezekiel Elliott. It's equal to what you have with Elijah Mitchell over the next 2 seasons, while Leonard Fournette is dramatically outproducing those options, and you're getting Fournette at a cheaper price. Not saying Leonard Fournette's a great value in redraft by any means, but for Dynasty, for these contending rosters, don't go trade for Derrick Henry. Go trade for Leonard Fournette and someone that's even cheaper on keep trade cut. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what people are looking at, but James Conner. James Conner is currently the running back 27 on keep trade cut. So a running back 3. Going behind James Cook, going behind those options that we just got done talking about as well, Ezekiel Elliott, Elijah Mitchell, he's going rounds ahead of them if we're looking at his redraft ADP. And if you're looking at James Conner, he just signed that contract this offseason, but very similar to Leonard Fournette, they have no incentive whatsoever to move on from James Conner. He is guaranteed $10 million in 2023. Guaranteed $10 million. They could save like $25,000 by moving on from James Conner. So you know that he is tied to this roster in 2022 and in 2023 for whatever reason. I don't get it. Trust me, I'm a former Texas alum, or I guess I currently am a Texas alum, but I was at the University of Texas when Keontae Ingram was our starting running back. I don't see what the hype of Keontae Ingram truly is. Let me look up exactly the capital that went into him. This was a late day 3 draft pick. I think Keontae Ingram doesn't even really stand out if you're comparing him to someone like, Benjamin, if we're going to be completely honest. Ingram went at the end of the 6th round here, and with James Conner, what's going to be very important is not to look at the season totals. This is a player on our redraft channel. I was saying to go through and sell at the beginning of the season. Clearly, I was moronic for saying so, but we didn't know James Conner was going to go to be a feature down running back with Chase Edmonds getting injured. I'm sorry, I can't predict an injury, but nonetheless, if we look at games where you actually had Chase Edmonds down for the Arizona Cardinals, you had Chase Edmonds missing weeks 9 through 14, as well as week 17. Those were the weeks where James Conner was that standalone starting running back. Chase Edmonds, I think we can say, is a talented option based on the contract he also got for the Miami Dolphins. And during that 6-game stretch, 6 games, you had James Conner completely changing the way that he was used in Arizona. The reason I was hesitant with his role while you had Chase Edmonds there is James Conner was getting legitimately nothing as a receiver. Nada, nothing. I mean, it was pitiful. But 16.7 carries a game, 5.3 targets a game, 59 rushing yards a game, 52 receiving yards per game with no Chase Edmonds. The second Chase Edmonds left, James Conner went from being a first and second down grinder that was a low end running back 2, high end running back 3 in fantasy based on the touchdown positive variance that he was experiencing, to being a prototypical 3-down workhorse running back that we saw back when he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not to mention, through this 6-game stretch, he had 10 total touchdowns as well. Now, I have to admit, you are going to get the touchdowns coming down for James Conner this upcoming season. Like, let me pull up how many total touchdowns he had, because he was still scoring touchdowns when Chase Edmonds was in the starting lineup, and we can assume that Kyler Murray is going to be vulturing some of these away. Yeah, so you ended up having 15 rushing touchdowns and 3 receiving touchdowns, so 18 touchdowns for James Conner last year. That number is dramatically coming down. But if you just go through and do some simple math, you had the points per game off the charts here for James Conner during that stretch, averaging over 20 points per game. Even if that comes down where James Conner's a high-end running back 2, you're paying a running back 3 price tag for him in Dynasty. He has the guaranteed job over the next 2 years. Not worried about Keontae Ingram, not worried about Eno Benjamin. They are not nearly as talented as Chase Edmonds. Yeah, so I really think that this is the trio of running backs you want to be targeting on contending rosters. Don't go target the trio that's going to be probably out of our price range, the Alvin Kamara, the Dalvin Cook, the Derrick Henry. If you're going to be going and trying to bring in an elite running back like that, instead, just pay a little bit extra and go get Najee Harris, go get Jonathan Taylor, go get DeAndre Swift, get someone that's on that rookie contract. But if we want a cheap veteran discount, this is the group we're looking at. And of course, thank you so much for being a part of the flock, supporting the channel. If you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on the video, subscribe if you play Dynasty. Leave a comment. Let me know why I'm stupid. If you want to get in a draft with us, go sign up to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK with the link down there in the description or in the comment section. That's all I got for you. Thank you again, and I hope you have a great day.